everyone. Please take a seat. We're about to start. So my name is Kim Buisson. I'm the co-founder of La Maison de la Chapelle. It's an artist residency in the south of France, based in Provence, where we host different artists every year working at the cross-section of social impact and craftsmanship. I also work for an organization called Funding the Commons, and it's specifically focused on new models of governance and economic systems that help to fund projects in the public good space, including art and culture. So I'm honored today to moderate this session based on art and culture called Margins to Bridges. And we're here this afternoon to talk about art and cultural media that doesn't live in enough galleries or press releases, art that is born in struggle, in silence, in survival. Art that is not made to please or to soften, but to remember, to resist, to rebuild, and to exist. Too often, cultural work that emerges from exile or from censorship, disability, or social trauma is framed as a footnote to impact, or treated as something that is merely symbolic. But the stories that we're going to hear today remind us that culture is actually the infrastructure of memory. It carries worldviews, protects identities, and keeps lineages from breaking. It's not charity, it's not decorative, it's in fact essential, and that's why there's a place for it here at ChangeNOW today. Each speaker that we'll have on this stage brings that reality into focus, working with and alongside communities whose voices are too often erased. So to open today, our keynote speaker, Dr. Ahmad Sarmast, who is the founder of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music and of Zora, the first all-women orchestra in Afghan history, is going to present. So please join me to welcome Dr. Ahmad Sarmast to the stage.
Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and dear friends, good afternoon. Today, I'll be telling the story of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, the story of the only music school in the entire Afghanistan in 21st century, the story of a school quite often called as the happiest place in Afghanistan. But today, that happiest place is silence. When I'm talking about the Afghanistan National Institute of Music or the story of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, the story of ANIM is the story of one impossible that become real. It's the story of the girls who become conductors. Is the story of street-working children and orphans who become the soloist and ambassador culture of Afghanistan. It's the story of a shattered nation who found its voice and music once again. Through that story, I'll be telling you that how Afghanistan National Institute of Music began on the margins, but how the school is today, in spite of all the odds and challenges that it faces, it's building bridges. It's building bridges between the exiles and the belonging. It builds bridges between the memory and the possibilities. And it builds bridges between the past and a hopeful future. In the time of war and repression, it's always music that become, or arts that become a sacrifice and a victim. And quite often, arts and culture during the war or crisis are neglected. But what's happening in Afghanistan in 20th and 21st century? In my country, a systematic cultural genocide took place. You might remember the 1996, late 1990s, when Taliban destroyed thousands of artifacts in Afghanistan. When they destroyed the two largest Buddhas of my country. When they banned music entirely and forced into silence the people of Afghanistan. What is happening once again today? And today again, Afghanistan is a silenced nation. In post-Taliban 2001, I went to Afghanistan with one aim and with a strong belief in the power of music, in the transformative power of music to help Afghanistan to revive its musical traditions, to use and to utilize the soft power of music to transform the life of disadvantaged kids, orphans, street-working kids, and women. The main idea was to bring music back to the community and to fight for the music rights of the Afghan people, which have been entirely denied. It was not just the music rights of the people, but also through music we wanted to assist Afghan women and to empower the women of Afghanistan. Afghanistan National Institute of Music was the only music school, but only co-educational school of Afghanistan. Only co-education school and program of Afghanistan. Our main aim, as I noted, there was several. Reviving musical rights of the Afghan people. So we make sure that every Afghan child, regardless of their gender, ethnicity, and social circumstances, have access to music and quality music education. We aim to revive Afghan musical tradition. For the first time, Afghan music and musical tradition, which is an oral tradition, has been incorporated into curriculum of a music academic program. We've been also aiming to promoting musical diversity in Afghanistan, and so also to make sure that as a human rights, as a freedom of expression, Afghan people and Afghan youths have access to variety of music. So we've been also aiming to promoting musical and cultural diversity in Afghanistan. With this aim, we established the School of Music and also to transform the life of street-working children. So the music school will very soon, thanks to the implementation of its program, it became very well known locally and internationally. Everything that we've been doing in Afghanistan, it was in a very sharp contrast with the ideology of the Taliban and radicalism. We tried also to use music, not just to music art, but also to use music for promoting democratic values in Afghanistan. As part of our activity, we did not only revive Afghan musical tradition and Afghan musical culture, but we also established the two well-known orchestras, two musical ensemble and groups that each of them had a significantly important for Afghanistan. The women orchestra, the all-women orchestra of Afghanistan, Zora, that was the first of its kind in the region. It was entirely completed by female musician, but also conducted by a female conductor. So the Zora orchestra became a symbol of emancipation and freedom of Afghan women. The second orchestra that we established, it was the Afghan Youth Orchestra, which in itself became a symbol of new voices, the voice of new generation in Afghanistan. And these orchestras have been playing all over the world, promoting musical and cultural diversity between Afghanistan and the international community. But it was not only that we've been aiming to build bridges between Afghanistan and the international community, but it was significantly important to build bridges first within Afghanistan, to first reconcile the people of Afghanistan through music and education. In the years when Taliban was run by, in the years that Afghanistan was run by the Taliban, the people of Afghanistan were divided based on the ethnicities. And people began to hate each other. So through the music and making music, I wanted also to teach new young generation of Afghanistan to respect each other's differences and live in peace and harmony through music. And therefore, through playing in orchestra, they also learn how to respect each other's differences outside of the orchestra, how to get engaged in the dialogue in the same way that they're getting engaged in dialogue in an orchestra outside of the orchestra. And in a way that they create a piece of beauty together, they've been also learning to live in peace and harmony and move towards a nationhood, and to consider and to see that their strength is in their unity, not in their division, and that their beauty is in their diversity. We used music and various ensembles of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music to get Afghanistan out of isolation. Years of civil war, first when Afghanistan was invaded by the Soviet Union, the entire West pushed Afghanistan in a corner, and Afghanistan was cut from the rest of the world. Civil war and the Taliban further contributed to the isolation of Afghanistan. But believing in the power of music, that music has the ability to build bridges, we, with different ensemble and orchestras, including the two symbolic orchestras of Afghanistan that serve as symbol of hope, the Zohar Orchestra and the Afghan Youth Orchestra, we traveled. Within the region, we played in all regional countries, and when we moved to Pakistan and to India and to neighboring countries, our message was the message of brotherhood and peace. When we traveled further to Europe and to the United States and Australia, we tried to show the positive changes of Afghanistan that occurred after the Taliban since 2001. But everything that we've been doing in Afghanistan, co-education, promoting education, establishing a women orchestra, promoting musical diversity, Western culture, put us in a sharp conflict with the Taliban and made us a target of the Taliban. So in 2014, Taliban sent a suicide bomber in one of our concerts who exploded himself within the audience. And several people were killed, and I myself was injured, and I spent 3 months in the hospital to recover. In 2015, another network has been arrested who's been aiming to attack our school. In 2017 and in 2020. So, in such a circumstances, while Afghanistan National Institute of Music was making a great impact in the community and on the international scene, the Taliban returned back to Afghanistan. What we could do in Afghanistan when the Taliban came. And you're probably today learning from the media that Afghanistan is silenced once again. And a systematic gender apartheid is taking place in Afghanistan against the Afghanistan women. And musicians of Afghanistan are denied their rights, and the people of Afghanistan are denied their rights. They cannot learn music, they cannot play music, they cannot listen to music, and musicians have been forced to go to beg or to sell food on the streets of Kabul to make a living. That's what's happening in Afghanistan today in the field of music and human rights. Afghanistan National Institute of Music, that was in the forefront of democratic changes in Afghanistan. Afghanistan National Institute of Music was that in the forefront of establishing a just and civil society in Afghanistan. We could not stay in Afghanistan knowing that we've been the target of the Taliban and we will be the target of the Taliban. So we managed successfully with the rest, with the assistance of wide coalition of people of goodwill, which included musicians, human rights advocates, music institutions, musicians, politicians, and lawyers and philanthropists. We managed to evacuate the entire school out of Afghanistan. 273 people have been out of Afghanistan, and we managed to establish the school back in Portugal and making Portugal as our new home. When I'm talking about the making impossible possible, that is the story of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. We left Afghanistan, we reestablished in exile, and today, once again, we at the global stages. But most important is that our students are back continue their education, their music education. They have another opportunity to hope and to dream and to chase their dreams. But today, these young musicians are not only continuing their music education, or they are not just traveling around the world to play music, but today they are the voice of millions of Afghans forced into silence. Today, they're deeply involved in advocacy for stopping gender apartheid in Afghanistan, but also for restoration of the music rights of the Afghan people. As I noted, the story of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, as you could see, it was established in a country where music was banned for many, many years. It survived all the challenges that existed in Afghanistan, but it's managed to emerge as a symbol of hope and resilience at the international arena and around the world. You could see boys and girls with no opportunities, orphan and street working children. They come out of the margins, and thanks to the music education, the transformative power of music, they become the cultural ambassadors of their country. And today, when I'm talking to you once again, they are the voice of the millions of the Afghan people. They're not only sharing the beauty of Afghan music, but they're also connecting their life in exile to what they belong, to Afghanistan. Once again, they build bridges between Afghanistan and the international community. And today, a nation forced into silence like Afghanistan, where the ways people cannot listen to the music. But these kids are making sure that the people of Afghanistan find their voices, and Afghanistan is able to sing once again. Today, when I'm standing here, I'm with a message on behalf of Afghan people and Afghan musicians to all of you. Let's make sure together that music never dies, that no other nation is forced into silence in the same way that Afghanistan is forced today. Everything is possible, but it depends on us. So let's raise the voice of silenced people of Afghanistan, and let's make sure that music is once again part of the Afghan community, and the people of Afghanistan are able to sing once again. Thank you. Thank you.
So we're now going to move into a panel conversation, and we're going to have two guests join us very shortly, and it's going to be about how art can act as a bridge between inner worlds and public ones, between memory and presence, between what's often unseen and what urgently needs to be known. Our speakers work with individuals and expressions that are left out of dominant narratives, not only because of who they are, but because the work itself doesn't actually conform to the frameworks of the contemporary art world. It doesn't fit the definitions, and maybe that's the point. After all, isn't the role of art and culture to open a dialogue with the past, the present, and the future, especially when it's unclear what the influence might be? Not to offer fixed answers, but to make space for complexity, for contradiction, and for perspective. So please, let's welcome on stage now Megumi Kobayashi. She leads Heralbony's... I'll introduce them when you sit down. Merci. So we'll sit down. I'll introduce them now that the jingle caught me by surprise. Sorry about that. So here we have Megumi Kobayashi. She leads the work of Heralbony in Europe. It's a creative agency that collaborates with artists whose practices are often ignored or undervalued, and yet whose work expands our understanding of creativity, of care, and of contribution. And we have here Stephan Zimmerli. He's a multidisciplinary artist whose project Studiolo of Exile invites people in exile to reconstruct places that they've lost through shared real-time drawings by tracing memory into physical form. So I gave you a little bit of a summary here, but it's always best to hear it from the voices of our speakers themselves. And I'd love to begin with you, Megumi. If you could tell us a little bit about where your work started, where Megumi started.
Great. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm Megumi from Heralbony. We are a Japanese creative company collaborating with artists with disabilities. These two are actually one of the two examples from our artists. On the artist on the right side, she's from Lyon, France, and the artist on the right side, yes, is a Japanese artist from Tohoku. So we work with these artists with disability to showcase the real value of their artwork. And we started from Japan, and we only worked with Japanese artists in the beginning. But now, next slide, please. Now we have, thank you. Now we have this international artist network through this International Art Award, only for the artists with disabilities to cultivate. And we work, with international artists from all over the world, including France, Germany, and Belgium. And next slide, please. And what we do is pretty simple. It's artist collaboration between artists and big enterprises. So we are the bridge between the artists and the big corporates. And we use their art data to design a lot of things like my dresses, and also the products and the spatial designing on the screen. And so that the artists can earn monies, through the royalties, and the big corporates can, can also benefit by communicating their diversity and inclusion messages through the unique art.
Thank you. So Stephan, tell us also a little bit about what you do. Can you please introduce your work?
Yes, thank you for the invitation. I'm Stephan Zimmerli. I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I have been trained as an architect and as a theater set designer, which are also my jobs. I've also worked as a musician for 10 years, touring around the world, and now I'm going back to my main first job, which is drawing, visual arts, and more precisely the art of memory. That is the core center of what I do. I try to focus everything on the theme of time, lived experience time, and how to materialize it or to revive it. And the project that I'm presenting here at ChangeNOW, which is exhibited just behind this wooden pavilion here, is called the Studiolo of Exile. You can see here a picture taken during the performances. So this is a performance of live drawing that I make by listening to people. This is the first time I did it in Florence. It's a project that started in Florence, Italy. I built this little architecture made of wood, which is called a studiolo in Italian, a small room to focus and concentrate and reflect. And in this room, I invited people with a past story of exile and migration to come and tell me his story. And especially, I ask one question to every people. Each person, I ask, is there a place in your memory that you have lost through exile and that you wish to see again? I'm going to try to draw it. If you can describe your memory to me, I will try to visualize it and make a drawing with you. And it's very important to state, you can see it on this picture, this is with a woman from Cameroon, Vicky. She's telling me about the house of her father, that she had to escape from Cameroon because of civil war. And this house she left without a photograph. So she doesn't have a photograph, she just has a memory. And it's been like 12 years, and she's trying to go back in time and tell me how this house was made. And you can see in the picture, she's directing me also. It's a collaborative work where I am the hand as a drawer, but she's the brain, and she's remembering. And we try through the course of 2 hours of performance, of discussion, of listening, to make the most accurate image of her memory. And with the training and patience and listening, I usually manage to reach a moment when the person is telling me the drawing is exactly like my memory. We have reached that point. So this is the core of what I'm doing now. My aim is to travel from city to city and do this kind of collection of archive, like a living archive of memories of exiled people around the world. So now it's been Florence, Paris, the next one will be Normandy, and after this, I don't know. It's an ongoing voyage.
So I'd love to open it up. Either of you could answer this question, but what challenges right now are you encountering in terms of perceptions with the work that you're putting out, whether it's the artists that you support or when you go to city, what are some of the challenges that you're experiencing?
So, so I'm gonna start answering to the question. So the Heralbony, we started this project. I mean, this is a commercial, like a business. We started this project 7 years ago, back in 2018. And it's been 7 years, and we have been very successful in Japan. And that's why, and we decided to come to, outside of Japan to become global, to, build more international projects and to become the international platform for all the artists with disabilities. And I think I would mention the more challenges that we had back in those early stage of our company, because back then, especially in Japan, the artwork and also the product that are created by the artists with disabilities tend to be seen as a very unprofessional and not so expensive. And I've been talking to a lot of people from, the France, also working with the artists with disabilities, also share the same perspectives. I mean, not the perspective, but share the same kind of the challenges that they are facing in the French society. So I think it's kind of a common challenges that we have. And back in 2018 and 19, when we started our business, we were trying to build a project, to create the project between the artists with the big companies, right? And the things that we were told by those big companies, they were like, "Oh, that's such a nice project. The art is beautiful, and you're making a great cause, but it's nice, but we will do it if it's free." So it was very difficult to really find our real allies who could really work together. But so that was the challenge that we had. But through those challenges, we thought it's very important to showcase the real beauty and the value that the artwork that's created by our artists really have, because with the lenses, with the bias or the preconception about the people with disability, it might be difficult for them to really see through the value of what our artists had. So we decided to start our a brand business, which is creating our art-infused products, which is dresses or the card cases, with really fine quality leather. And they started seeing, oh, it's very beautiful, and oh, what is the story behind? And then when we started telling the story about the artists, and they happen to know these artists are with disabilities, they're very shocked in a good way. They're very good surprise, And then we thought oh, it's very important that we show that the value and show the very, very beauty of the artist, so that they can really see the value and what they have. Yeah. I hope it really answered the question. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And you both have echoed when we spoke previously before we prepared for the panel about not fitting in a box. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that piece. I don't know if that was the challenge you were going to express, but you have that in common.
Yes, in terms of challenges, the one you're talking about it resonates with the challenge also I'm facing in my own work in this project, because maybe being transdisciplinary is a great voyage for me, but when you try to actually find partners, places, then it's a defect, because recently when I showcased this work in Paris, we were looking for partners like art galleries or art centers to pursue it. And I got this answer from the contemporary art galleries that somebody came and said, your work sounds very interesting with all these stories of exile, but would you define this contemporary art? And I said, I just made it, I don't define it. And then she told me, yeah, if you don't define it contemporary art, it cannot be in our gallery. So it was like a strange, unexpected way to see it. But then I understood because we cannot sell it. And obviously it doesn't look like a work of art that is tailored for a collector to buy and put on the wall or something. The real core of my work is even not the drawing itself, it is the connection I build with the person. It is the memory of the person is the core of this work of art. And of course this cannot be sold. So then it poses a problem for this industry or something. And I'm like, okay, it's just not the good partner. I need to find, maybe other types of institutions, partners, and I have no idea where to look. But that is a challenge, like an external, real-world challenge. The other challenge is internal to the art. It is what I call the horizon of memory. Because when I do this work with people living in exile, sometimes they will tell me a memory from 50, 60, 70 years ago, and it's very difficult for them to go back in their own memory and to transmit me with words what they are seeing, because it's very fuzzy, it's very difficult. And with each person, I'm looking actually for that challenge, to reach the point where their brain does not remember anymore. And this feels like reaching the horizon of a black hole. And with the drawing, I find that we can find ways that people start to remember things that they had forgotten. Because when we draw things, I think something happens in the brain, or maybe the body, that starts to remember, because when they see something in the drawing that is not correct, something in them says, this is not correct. And then they start looking, and with this process, I found that if you're patient, maybe it takes 2 hours, but they start to see things they themselves thought they did not have anymore. And this is, for me, the magical moment, if we reach that challenge moment where you have to go into your own memory, into your own oblivion. And for me, as an artist, it's very exciting to go there, because you're on the edge of something unknown. And when we manage to retrieve all these details from their childhood, and they realize, wow, I thought I had forgotten this for 60 years, but actually some part of me remembers it. So it's not dead, it's still there, and I can revive it. Then I feel, as an artist, I'm very happy to have taken them to this place.
I love that you went there and shared with us a tangible story about this horizon. I wonder if you too, Megumi, you have stories about working with some of the artists with disabilities and of feeling like there was maybe a horizon or something reparative that was happening as a result of the work being seen or being valued, or anything that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good question, because I recently went to see one of the artists that I showed earlier on the screen. Her name is Evelyn. She's from Lyon, France. And she is actually the Grand Prix of the Heralbony Art Prize, which I introduced earlier. It's the art prize for the artists with disabilities. And this is our second edition that's happening this year. And she's the Grand Prix winning artist. So we went to her house because that's her art studio and house. So we visited her, and we we shot the promotional video and the portraits. And she was sharing how this award winning, it's something very momentum for her life, because she is with dyslexia, but when she is like a little bit older, so when she was born, there's no concept of like dyslexia at the time. So she shared that how her mother was very confused about her ability to communicate with other people verbally. So Evelyn herself thought she was treated as like a not smart kid, and she was taught like she wasn't really doing it at school and etc. So she found a way to express herself through painting, or like creating the artwork. And after years and years, she, started claiming herself as an artist. And it's been like some decades. And she happened to encounter Heralbony and apply for this art prize. And she is a Grand Prix winner now. And she was sharing how she was wondering what how her mother would say about winning the art, because back then she was considered as a troublesome kid, but now she's recognized as a prestigious artist, from a creative company far away from Japan. She was so proud of what she has been doing, and I was I got very emotional by hearing those stories. And sometimes it's very, being different from other people. It's sometimes very difficult, to live in a society, but it gives a lot of different perspectives. And we just don't have many opportunities or the platform for them to be able to express in their own ways. And I really hope that Heralbony can be a new international platform for those people. And and I think that also gives us a lot of learning experiences and also the new perspectives to learn from them. And that's what it should be called, creativity and also the innovation. Yeah.
So if anyone in the room has an artist in mind, or how do people find you? How do you find these artists? Do they find you? Do you find them? What's the process?
At the very, very beginning, we Googled and we made a long, long list of the welfare facilities or the individuals who create artwork on Instagram and on Google, and make a long, long list. And we DM, we directly message them one by one. Some people reply, some people don't. But as we communicate on social media, they were like, oh, they're not someone very creepy. They are actually the legit a company who does something probably cool. So as we communicate more, we get some responses. And also, I think it was a great idea that we started this International Art Prize, because, it sets us as a very, how would I say, emerging art agency or the creative company to work with artists with disabilities. So now we get a lot of contacts from their side, and also we get a lot of applications. Actually, it was more than 2,600 applications from 65 different countries and regions this year. So it's been pretty good. Yeah.
What about you, Stephan? Where do you find the people who come to speak about their memories? What's the process?
Well, it's usually a collaborative work. So I work with curators or art centers. For these 2 times that I made this experiment, I was lucky to have a great team. And they were art centers already with a mission of a social mission of art. And so they worked with NGOs or associations welcoming refugees, and so they had some networks. Sometimes, because I was also looking for people from around the world, for each session I was trying to find people from all 5 continents, which is a challenge. If you come to a foreign city, you don't know anybody there, and you start going from door to door, looking for people and stories. And sometimes it happened by chance. You have to trust kind of instinct. I went to a demonstration on the main square of Firenze of Florence, and I met these Georgian people doing a protest, and I started drawing and talking to them, and that's how I found a Georgian refugee sharing her story with me. It's a bit like a kind of documentary or journalism approach, to look for testimonies, but it's a lot about also trust and word of mouth. People actually, because they have to trust me that I'm gonna respect their memory and that it's like a meaningful process to do this. So it relies a lot on like human networks. I didn't use, for example, internet here. It was all just door to door, going even to restaurants, and sometimes the cook in the restaurant is just coming in to cook and then goes back, but he has maybe an incredible life story to share. So you have to ask the person if he can ask the cook to participate, and this happened. Yeah.
I'd love to ask, before the session ends, for both of you to share, what it would look like if you could get anything you want, if you had a wish. What would be your wish for unlocking the next stage for Heralbony, for instance?
That is a really great question. And I mean, I have a lot of wishes. I'm a greedy person. But, well, what I really imagine, like the views, I mean, the dream, or I don't know, like a very specific goal that I'm trying to see and try to make it happen is that, for example, is that seeing the very celebrities, or from celebrities to normal people in our art-infused dresses, or with scarves, or leather card cases, walking in Champs-Élysées, and making a very nice, kind eye contact, because it's not like we're not selling the art. We are spreading this philosophy that being different is a huge potential, and whatever they have is whenever they have a great opportunity, the right setting, they have the true value to really showcase and to really empower other people, no matter what, regardless of them having disability or not. And I think I'm talking too much, but yeah, that's the vision that I want to see.
No, I love it. It was such a precise vision. So if anyone in the room can help us make that happen, we just need a couple of celebrities and. But it's interesting because you're both sharing stories that are profoundly personal. Every artist has their very own journey with their own disability and their own moments of coming to claim themselves as artists. And then with the stories of exile, they're all extremely personal and specific. And at the same time, you're both touching on such universal topics of, being different, or never being able to go home, which is a story that unfortunately is becoming more and more universal. So thank you for sharing it in that way. And you, Stephan, if you could make anything happen with your project. Just one, sorry.
It's fine. No, actually, when I started doing this work of like drawing the mind of somebody else, I found it to be something very kind of enlightening for me, because as an artist you often work with your own mind and you're kind of locked in your bubble and you're in your studio and everything, and I wished to go to escape from that bubble. So starting to draw the mind of other people in a way is a kind of learning to listen. It's maybe developing your own ability to empathize, or just imagine. And in a way, what I would wish is that this could become also not just like an experiment, like my little experiment here, but like a kind of protocol of art in its own right. It could become like an art in itself, I think, really, like relational art, dialectic art. But personally, I would like to teach this to my students. I already give lessons of architecture and drawing and art, but now I was starting to think maybe I should teach people how to draw the mind of another person. That could become like a nice little teaching project. It's a challenge also, but my wish would be one day to kind of do this like a school for mind drawing, for the art of memory and the art of connecting brains together through the hand, like with no technology. Like no, no technology involved, just like a pencil, your ears, your brain, your eyes, and I think that would be my wish, to do that little school.
Thank you. We're going to stop here on these final words, and it's actually a great transition to the next part of the program where we're going to talk about education for a little bit. But thank you so much for joining us here today and for speaking about your projects. And
thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to close this session, we're going to go into a fireside chat. And as I just mentioned, we are going to be talking about less art and more culture and education. Today, we're going to welcome Amida Aman. She's an Afghan journalist and a media entrepreneur. Please join me. Welcome.
On m'a dit de mettre là. D'accord? On m'a dit de mettre là.
Welcome, Amida. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm going to give a brief introduction, and then we'll go into your work. So Amida is an Afghan journalist and a media entrepreneur. She's the founder of the Begum Organization for Women, and a platform that uses radio, television, and digital tools to provide education and amplify the voices of Afghan women and girls.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much.
So thank you for joining us today. We did have, for those of us who have been with the session the entire time, a little bit of an introduction about the context in Afghanistan, but I think hearing it from your perspective as well might be helpful for those who are just joining us. Tell us a little bit about your work.
Sure. As Mr. Sarmast explained the situation of Afghanistan, and you know it through media, that 3 years ago in August 2021, the Taliban took over, and the entire society, our entire society changed, especially for women. And I'm working in media for more than 20 years, and I could see that the situation will change, and women will suffer from that. That's why I launched a radio station 6 months before the arrival of Taliban, and this radio station is still alive, is still broadcasting. We went through many challenges, but it's named Radio Begum, and it's still in Afghanistan and trying to help women in this difficult situation.
Can you tell us what you broadcast on the radio and a little bit about the programming?
The programming, the mission that our aim is mostly to bring education to the country. So it's to educate women and to help women and to create a safe space for women to interact and to discuss. And this radio station provides educational content, so meaning we are recording classes, and we are broadcasting these school programs through the radio. And besides that, we are providing mental health support. So psychologists are taking phone calls from listeners who tell us about these problems. They share their stories, and they ask for guidances. Same with doctors. So we are providing mental health, but also health support, but also talking about women's rights in the perspective of Islam. And all these programs are call-in programs. So it means the listeners, the women who are listening us all of inside the country can call us and interact with our specialists, with our animators, journalists, in order to create bridges and in order for them to not to feel alone, to feel less lonely, and to feel there is a network of women who are sharing the same stories and the same struggles.
So from our vantage point here, sitting in a country where we have freedom of speech, it's a bit challenging to understand, how you might be circumventing censorship. Can you tell us a little bit about what that actually looks like?
Mr. Sarmast was talking about the music, and now under Taliban time, we have all radio stations or TV channels are not allowed to broadcast any kind of music. So imagine we have a radio station but without music, without any joy. We are even not allowed to laugh, and we cannot even we have been banned to broadcast any kind of poetry as well. And for instance, we work. We are not doing any politics. This is our the first thing that, because by doing politics we will put ourselves at risk, and our first mission is mostly education. So through 6 hours of this kind of programs. But besides the radio station, we decided to go one step forward and to provide also education through videos, and this is the next step of digital work that we did. But coming back to the censorship, I forgot to mention that first, in order for us to be able to broadcast and to work, men and women should be totally separated in the field work, in the field space, in the workspace, sorry. And then we are not doing any politics, we are not doing music, and everything is monitored. For instance, we have been banned to talk about contraceptions, which is pity for a radio station dedicated to women. So we provide this. We are allowed to work, we are allowed to communicate, but we're very much framed. That's why we decided that it's important not to wait to be stopped in Afghanistan, and because we had this sword of Damocles above our head, and the regime could stop us at any time, I decided that it will be also a time to have a media based outside of Afghanistan in order to create different bridges and to have much more freedom. For the day we are stopped in Afghanistan, we can keep going with this broadcast through satellite from Paris. And this is what we do. We launched 1 year ago in March 2024 a TV station broadcasting from Paris to Afghanistan. And this is another bridge that we are creating between, and this radio station is animated and is done, the programs are done by Afghan women journalists in exile who are here in France, and who have been evacuated 3 years ago, and who are now in a safe place, but able also to help their sisters in Afghanistan.
I just want to go back for a second to all of the things you said you couldn't speak about. So do you actually respect that frame?
We have to respect that frame. We respected that frame. Sometimes we went a little bit beyond this frame, and what's happened 2 months ago in February, we have been stopped. Taliban authorities stopped our radio station. They put 2 of our colleagues in jail, and it was super. We have been accused, accused from false accusation, because this, being a radio station dedicated to women in a country like Afghanistan, where when everything is against women, and any initiative for helping women is banned or undermined, we have been stopped because we were taking too much of space, and also because the radio was covering too many provinces and maybe have a large audience, and also because we launched this TV station also from Afghanistan. So we have been stopped during more than 2 months, almost 2 months, sorry, and we could resume our broadcast a few weeks ago, and it was very difficult. It was super tough to gain this authorization back, but we managed to do it. So we are quite proud, but it shows us also that we are very fragile in such environments.
So you've mentioned the internal obstacles that you're seeing. Are you seeing obstacles from the larger community, from the international community? What is standing in your way? What kind of support do you need that you're not getting right now?
Usually, it's this radio station, but also TVs are all NGOs, non-profit organizations. So they depend on they are NGO. So and of course we are dependent on support of international organizations like the United Nations. And we know that these days, year after year, when the needs are increasing in the country, the support for Afghanistan is decreasing by 50% every year. And of course, the toughest situation right now is not only our organization, but also many other organizations working in the field, mostly on health sector or education sector. They are shutting down because of lack of support and lack of funding.
That's one piece, and there's something else that came up in the first conversation we had together, where you were mentioning that there's some maybe media fatigue as well around Afghanistan in general. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're perceiving?
Sure. The country is again is isolated year after year, not only because there is a fatigue of the international, because there is also a new conflict coming, and Afghanistan is a very long conflict, and it's lasting for more than 40 years now. So, but also because we have Ukraine, Gaza, and many other conflicts, and also the new administration, a new Trump administration, also coming in the game, and all these things make Afghanistan very far behind of international attention, and it's becoming very difficult to have opportunities to talk about Afghanistan. And thank you for giving us this opportunity to mention what's going on and to raise awareness about the situation. But there is this fatigue, and the fact that and also the country is isolated on purpose, because the regime is isolated the country as well by not giving any visa to journalists. There is very few people who manage still to go and just only a few journalists who are able to go and cover the situation.
From there, I'd love to be able to talk about the tools that you use as well. So we talked a little bit about the obstacles, but in terms of new opportunities, we're seeing AI blossom. You're now mentioning that you're going towards TV. When we first talked, you mentioned having thousands and thousands of videos. So you're growing this bank of content. What is your hope, or what is the unlock in terms of being able to build the library and make it even bigger? What do you need today in terms of whether it's technology or contributors? Tell us what you need. Yeah,
our need, as I said, we developed a lot of videos. So all the programming videos that we put in an application, in a platform, and now we just launched recently an application giving access online but also offline of this educational content that we produced ourselves. But we need always more educational content, more scientific content. It can be videos, it can be mostly videos, and it can be also cartoons to entertain and to educate also kids, also TV series, any kind of content that can also bring some joy, because we are allowed to broadcast any kind of content through the satellite channel, because we are not under the Taliban law. So, and at the moment in Afghanistan there is no joy, no hope, no music, no TV series, because all these things are banned. So we need this kind of content in order just to relay it and to broadcast it back to Afghanistan and to bring a little bit of hope and joy to people.
Can you tell us what's next for Begum? What is the trajectory? What do you see in the future?
The future, unfortunately, the future in the countries is not very. We don't have so many positive signs. The journey will be very long, and what we need is to keep giving hope to people when there is no sign of hope. This is the biggest challenge for us. But we'll keep going. We'll keep giving the voice to women from outside, and we will try our best to last also inside the country. This is our biggest challenge for now, and if ever we will do our maximum. But if we cannot anymore work from inside the country, we will keep fighting from outside, and we'll try, and we will do everything we can to change the narrative of this regime, to counter this narrative in order not to make, in order to show to people that they are not alone, and we are, and what they are saying are not correct. So we are doing.
I love that you also mentioned some of the content that is meant to bring joy, and how this education goes well beyond math and science and languages, and this idea of having all of these storylines and cultural content actually having a very profound place in all of this. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's why through Begum TV, the TV is broadcasting a lot of interviews and music and small chat, in order to also to show to bring some because from inside the country there is no media are not allowed to show women are covered. But Begum TV is broadcasting, but in a very normal way, with not all this censorship.
So we have about a minute and a half left. I want to make sure that you have space to say whatever you most need to say. Is there something, a call to action, or something that you'd like to share that might be helpful, since we're at ChangeNOW?
Yeah. My message will be to keep talking about this situation. We are slowly going toward the recognition of this regime, and maybe a normalization between the Western countries and Taliban. And my message will be to keep pushing pressure on on Western governments to condition this recognition to a respect of human rights in Afghanistan. This is the most important thing. First, they show a sign of openness by reopening the schools, for instance, and then we accept them as a counterpart or a recognized regime. This will be my message.
Thank you.
Thank you very
so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
So in just a moment, we're going to play a video for you. So we're talking about art, we're talking about culture. We also wanted to give you an experience, and one that is tied to Dr. Ahmad Samhast keynotes. If you saw it earlier today, we actually wanted to play something by his orchestra. So you'll see it in just a moment. So it's the Afghanistan National Institute of Music that is playing in this video, and it is called Together We Rise. So I don't know if the tech team has it queued up.
تماشا و غیر مده صفحه تقدیر هرچند تو را خلق بگویند که فلانه از ظاهرت افراد بشستند و کنون تو نوره که نهان گشت از دیری زمانه بتماشای فراق خود خانه این خانه فراشن پلیدان به بیگانه تنها نگذارید به میدانش عزیزان شاهین که پرید از پای پرواز زلانه
So if you haven't been with us for the entire section, the founder of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, Dr. Ahmad, is actually sitting right here and is with us today. Thank you so much, Ahmad, for joining us as well. Thank you to the speakers that were here with me on stage earlier and for staying all the way through. Thank you.